Hi, it's Paul Seabridge here. So I thought I would share a quick video on some deal structures and pitch ideas. So I guess when I'm looking at deals, there are many different ways that you can structure deals, but I guess the three key ones for me that stand out as probably the most popular ones that I'm doing. So I'm just going to share some initial thoughts around how I sort of introduce the conversation to a business owner in terms of how you introduce that structure. So I guess the first deal structure would be to take sweat equity or an equity stake in a business in return for doing something. So that could be some sort of value add. Maybe it's improving their sales and marketing or solving a problem. So maybe they have maybe they're in a distress situation, maybe they've got some debt, maybe solving that problem in terms of re-engineering the finances, restructuring the business, and for doing that you'll have a stake in the business. The difference between equity and sweat equity is that an equity stake would be on completion, you take that percentage and then you'll deliver whatever it is you're going to deliver to solve that problem or add that value. Sweat equity would be you actually doing all of that work and then earning that stake. So in terms of how I will position that with an owner, I would make it very clear at the outset. Firstly, I'd understand what their problem is or what it is that they're looking to try and do in their business. Is it increasing their sales? Is it dealing with the debt? Is it restructuring the business? And you position yourself as obviously the person that can do all of those things for them. And the way that I would position it with them is that typically when we do deals, we're not like management consultants that might charge you very expensive fees up front to deliver something with no guarantee of success. And the way that we work is that we'll take a percentage in your business for delivering those things. And it means that there's no upfront cost to you, and it means that your problem is solved or you have that issue dealt with. The next deal structure to talk about is buyout and exit. So we talk to a lot of business owners that will be looking for some sort of exit. So again, I will position with them the structure in the deal. So always a seller is going to want all of the money up front on closing without providing warranties, and as a buyer you don't want to pay anything up front, and you want as many warranties and protection as possible. But in both situations I would suggest that you're never going to be able to make a deal work on either of those bases because you're too far apart from each other. So I would look at sort of using the deal pie, if you like, in terms of the different ways of being able to get to their numbers. So once you understand their number, maybe the common things that you would use in the deal pie would be deferred consideration and earn out, using their own cash, or introducing leverage. I guess they're the key components that tend to make up the deal. So again, when I'm talking to a business owner, I'm trying to understand from them how much goodwill is tied up in them. So I'm asking them questions about, what do they do on a day-to-day basis? How involved in the business are they? Are they dealing with staff and customers? Because then when you want to talk about deferred consideration, you can say, typically when we put a deal together, we never pay 100% in cash on closing. And the reason for that is that there's a lot of goodwill tied up in you as a business owner. So if you've still got a vested interest in the business, you haven't received a full purchase price on closing, then this gives us the protection as a buyer that we're not paying for something that potentially we could lose. And it also gives them a vested interest to make sure that they work with you, that, business is a good one. They're going to work with you to make sure staff and customers are happy with any change of ownership, and once they've worked through that, then you can pay them their deferred consideration. I think in terms of an earn-out, again, it's understanding where the business is at now, what's their vision for the business next year. So if they weren't going to sell, what would next year look like? And a lot of the time with growing businesses, that next year is always going to be better than the last. So if you can understand and try and pin that down in terms of numbers, so if you've got a business doing $1 million of revenue and next year the business owner is telling you that it will do 1.25, you could justify an earn-out by saying, well, look, if you hit that 1.25 that you've said if the business is forecast to do next year, then we'll pay you X, and it gives you the justification for that, and that's particularly useful when you've got racy valuations where a business owner may think that the business is worth more. Well, it might well be worth more if it can deliver an uplift from where it is, and you're linking that uplift to sharing that value with them. In different jurisdictions around the world, you can use a company's own cash as a way to purchase it. So, for example, in the UK, cash is an asset, and if a business owner benefits from entrepreneurs relief, well, including that cash in the sale rather than paying it out as a dividend has some tax benefit. So if they took that out as a dividend, then they'll pay income tax on that dividend, which in the UK can be as high as, between 32 and 45%, depending on how they draw it out. Whereas if they include the cash in the sale, they can take the cash on closing, but they'll only pay capital gains tax on it. So the way that works from an accounting and structuring point of view is that, let's say the company's got £1 million of cash in the company at closing, then that £1 million would be loaned to the SPV that you would use to buy the company. So it would show on the target business that you're buying as a current asset, because it's an asset of the business that's been loaned to the SPV to buy it, and on the SPV it would show as both an asset and a liability. An asset as an investment, and a liability as an amount that it owes to the target company. In reality, there's various ways that you can dividend that out and deal with that in the future, but that's how it's handled on closing. And then that cash is then given to the owner, and they'll only pay capital gains tax on that rather than income tax. And if they benefit from entrepreneurs relief in the UK, then they can pay as low as 10% tax versus 32 to 45% in dividend tax. Leverage is another way. So if you have assets of a company, you could leverage them. So you could use asset finance against plant and machinery. You could borrow against a property asset. You could, use cash flow funding. Obviously, you need to make sure that any leverage, new debt introduced to the business is sustainable and affordable, and you're not over leveraging yourself. But again, it will be treated very similarly to how cash works. So the company that you're buying borrows the money against its assets, and that money is then loaned to the SPV to make that down payment or payment for the business. So I'm having these sorts of conversations with business owners in those initial calls to understand how involved they are, because that justifies deferred. If they have a race evaluation, you can talk about how you can link that to an earnout, and you can talk about the structures in terms of using the cash and the leverage in a way of being able to benefit from that cash in a tax efficient way. It's not uncommon for a business owner or entrepreneur to when they start to make lots of money in the business, they'll take out what they need to pay their day-to-day expenses, but it's not in their interest from a tax perspective to take it all out, because they'll pay those high rates of tax. Whereas if they leave the cash in the business, it can be taken out as part of the transaction. And I guess another common structure that I use a lot is business owners that are looking for investment, and this is a key one really for how to pitch the agglomeration. So from my point of view, they might be coming to me saying, I need £500,000 to go and invest in X, Y, or Z, open a new factory, buy a business, invest in sales and marketing, and you can pitch agglomeration as and the benefits of that. So I sort of say what a lot of people want to do when they want to grow and expand a business and build a group of companies is that they'll go out and make the acquisitions, and they'll use traditional forms of M&A to do that. They'll take on debt, they'll borrow money to do deals, and then when they've built the group, they then go and look for their exit strategy, whatever that might be. What we say is that we have access to a diversified investment company, a public company already listed on one of the markets, that's looking to build a group in this sector. If it's a sector we're already involved in, then we can talk about that particular sector. If it's a new sector, then we can say that we've identified that sector potentially as a fragmented market, and when there's a market that's fragmented, there can become opportunities to consolidate. So when you start putting businesses together, you can drive a whole host of benefits, economies of scale, buying power, etc., etc. And we say that by joining a public company, you then have access to the capital markets, which makes it perhaps easier and cheaper to grow and scale much quicker than if you were to do it as a private entity, and you can get into all of the other benefits of agglomeration. So when I'm looking at how best to structure a deal in these particular examples, then they're the sorts of ways that I introduce that and have that conversation with business owners.